It began with fear, the kind of fear that crawls under the skin and freezes every breath in the lungs. The kind of fear that even the most powerful species in the galaxy pretended they no longer felt. Yet on this day inside the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, that fear returned like an ancient ghost waking from a long-forgotten grave. Representatives from 91 alien empires filled the chamber, staring at the giant holographic screen floating above them, watching the shaky live transmissions coming from their scout fleet near the dark edge of the Orion Rift, a region known for dead stars, drifting wreckage, and unsolved disappearances. At first, the council did what they always did: mock, joke, laugh. Perhaps the scout captain saw his own reflection and panicked. One alien sneered. Maybe a drifting asteroid bumped their ship, another smirked. They all laughed, until the laughter died instantly as the next transmission played. The screen flickered violently, showing static, screams, and glimpses of something enormous moving behind the darkness. Like a mountain gliding through shadow, like a silent moon drifting where no moon should exist. Then the cameras stabilized for just 2 seconds, and in those 2 seconds every being in the council chamber felt their hearts stop. The shadow was not a creature, not an anomaly, not drift debris. It was a ship. A ship so massive that it blocked starlight. A ship with no identification, no known signature, no empire markings. A ship built with black metal that swallowed all light around it, shaped like a titan born from the oldest nightmares of the void. And then the final transmission came, the face of the last surviving scout, his eyes wide with terror, blood running down his cheek, breathing short, shaking violently as he whispered one single word before the signal cut: human. Those 5 letters hit the council like a meteor. Every voice fell silent. Every arrogant smirk vanished. Every leader who mocked Earth froze in pure disbelief, because in their minds, humans were supposed to be weak, simple, unadvanced, peaceful creatures hidden on a blue world at the edge of the galaxy. Not the kind of species who built ships the size of moons. This is impossible, a high-ranking general whispered, gripping the table so hard his claws cracked the metal. Humanity never built Titan-class vessels. They don't have the technology. Another leader's voice shook as he replied, or maybe, they never showed it. The air grew cold. The councillors looked at each other with fear creeping into their bones as they replayed the last frames of the transmission. Just before the camera died, the ship's massive hull rotated slightly, revealing a faint symbol glowing through the darkness, a symbol no one had seen in centuries. The insignia of the Terran Titan-class fleet. A fleet believed to be myth. A fleet mentioned only in whispers and classified archives. A fleet humanity supposedly built for a war no one else remembered. Fear spread like wildfire. Some council members tried to calm the room, insisting the scout ship malfunctioned. But the truth was carved too deeply into the survivors' last words to deny. The council demanded full analysis. They zoomed in on the shadow, enhanced sensor readings, tried to scan its mass, but every system returned the same terrifying message: unknown material, unknown power signature, unknown engine type, unknown everything. It wasn't just big. It was unreadable, unreachable, untouchable, a ghost of human engineering that defied every law the council understood. Then the hall trembled as the next scan result flashed red across the chamber. Size estimate: 890 kilometers long. The room erupted. That is impossible. No ship can reach that size. Even our dreadnoughts are barely 1/10 of that. Is this why humans vanished 600 years ago? What were they building? The council leader slammed his fist down to silence the chaos, but even he could not stop the fear twisting his face. With a trembling claw, he opened the next feed from another nearby scout ship. Its footage showed something even more horrifying. The massive human Titan-class warship wasn't drifting. It was watching. Its front observation strip glowed with a pale white light, like an eye opening slowly, calmly, confidently, looking directly at the alien fleet that had dared to approach it. The ship made no threats. It fired no weapons. It didn't even activate shields. It simply observed. But the feeling that poured through the live feed was more overwhelming than any weapon. Every alien watching felt it. The ship was not scared. It was not challenged. It was not bothered. It was simply aware. And that awareness alone crushed the courage of entire species who once believed themselves powerful. Why is it just staring? Someone whispered shakily. Because, an old council archivist answered, voice barely audible, Titan-class warships were built to measure threats before firing. If it is watching, then it is evaluating us. Silence fell again. Because no one wanted to be evaluated by a ship that size. A third transmission suddenly came online. This time from a drone that had drifted near the warship. The drone's footage shook violently, struggling to stabilize as massive gravitational pressure twisted its frame. For one horrifying moment before the drone imploded, the camera caught full view of the human Titan-class warship. The entire chamber gasped. The ship's hull was carved with ancient designs, runes of an unknown Terran code, scars from wars fought long before the Council even existed, deep engravings that seemed to pulse faintly with light, like veins under skin, hinting that the warship wasn't just built. It was awakened. The drone died. The feed cut. The chamber plunged into echoing dread. The Council leader spoke first. We must send our strongest fleet. But another councillor shook his head violently. No, that would be suicide. A third whispered, why would humans build something like this, unless they feared something worse? No one had an answer. And then, a low hum echoed across every council screen. Their long-range sensors detected movement. The human Titan had turned. Not away, not sideways, but toward the council's approaching second fleet. Gasps echoed. Screams erupted. Dozens of aliens froze in terror. The council leader shouted, "It is advancing." The chamber's lights flickered as the Titan-class warship's massive silhouette filled the feed, growing larger, darker, more overwhelming, until it drowned out every star behind it like a curtain of living shadow. The ship's engines glowed faintly, emitting a soft, haunting white light that looked ancient, older than any reactor in the known galaxy. And as it drew closer, all sensors failed. All ships lost connection. All systems dropped offline. The only thing that continued working was the Council's fear. For the first time in thousands of years, an entire room of the galaxy's most powerful leaders felt small, weak, helpless. One councillor finally whispered the words every mind was thinking. If this is what humanity built, then what happened to the enemy they built it for? And that single question was more terrifying than the warship itself. Because if humanity returned with this, the galaxy was nowhere near ready. The Council's second fleet, one of the largest fleets ever assembled, raced toward the Orion Rift with full power, engines burning bright, shields active, and weapons charged. But even with all their confidence and all their numbers, a heavy fear sat deep in every captain's chest as they replayed the last scout transmission in their minds, the terrified whisper of a dying alien saying human, before the screen cut to darkness. As the fleet approached the rift, their long-range scanners flickered, glitched, and then died one by one, as if an unseen hand was gently turning them off. No EMP detected, no weapon signature, just silence swallowing their technology like it had swallowed the first fleet. The admirals shouted commands, demanding backup scans, secondary readings, anything, but all they received was static. The space around them felt wrong, too quiet, too still, like a graveyard where even ghosts were afraid to speak. And then the darkness shifted. Something massive moved behind the dust clouds. The alien crews gripped their seats, their claws, their weapons, their breaths held tight in their chests as the shape slowly emerged, not rushing, not attacking, simply revealing itself like a sleeping giant opening its eyes. The Titan-class human warship glided out of the shadows, its massive form glowing faintly with ancient white lines that pulsed like veins of a living creature. Its presence so overwhelming that several alien officers fell to their knees, unable to breathe from the pressure alone. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It didn't even acknowledge the fleet. It simply existed, and that was enough to make the strongest warriors tremble. The admirals tried to run scans, to calculate the ship's mass, its power, its shields, but every system returned the same chilling result: error. No data. Unknown entity. The fleet had no idea what they were facing. An alien captain, breath shaking, whispered to his crew, "How did humans build this? How did a species so small create something so big?" No one answered. Because no one knew. The Titan's front observation strip glowed brighter, like an eye focusing on something far away, and several captains felt a sharp instinctive terror, as if the ship was looking directly into their minds, reading their intentions, measuring their fear. A trembling officer choked out, "This thing, this ship, it feels alive." Before anyone could respond, a quiet hum filled the void, the Titan's engines shifting, rotating, preparing. Every alien on board the fleet felt their skin crawl. Something ancient had awakened. And then it happened. The Second Fleet finally sent a message to the Council. The projection appeared inside the Grand Hall, showing hundreds of alien officers shaking, sweating, whispering prayers to their gods. "We have visual confirmation. The human ship is real. It is advancing." The Council erupted in chaos. Some screamed to fire immediately, others demanded retreat. Others shouted to contact Earth, to beg for peace. But no one could make a decision because fear choked their voices. The transmission shook violently as the Titan drew closer, its size dwarfing entire battle cruisers, its shadow covering miles of space, its hull reflecting no light, its runes glowing brighter like ancient magic awakening. An admiral shouted, "Weapons UP. Fire everything we have." But before a single shot could be fired, every ship in the fleet froze. Lights died, engines died, weapons powered down, screens went black, all at once, like a single command had shut down their entire existence. The crews screamed, slamming buttons, pulling wires, rebooting systems, but nothing responded. The fleet was helpless. Completely helpless. And the Titan had not fired a single weapon. One officer, tears rolling down his face, whispered, "This is not a warship. This is a warning." The Titan drifted past the frozen alien ships slowly, silently, like a king walking through a field of insects who dared to challenge it. And as it passed, every ship shook as if the void itself bowed. A final whisper left the lips of a terrified captain before the transmission died again. "Council, you don't understand. Humans didn't build this to fight us. They built this to fight something worse." And the chamber fell into a silence deeper than fear, because for the first time, the galaxy realized the horrifying truth. If this was humanity's warship, then humanity's enemy must have been something beyond imagination. Something the galaxy was never prepared to face as the Second Fleet floated helplessly before the Titan-class human warship, powerless and silent. The Galactic Council scrambled in panic, their voices cracking as they argued over what to do. But even inside the Grand Hall filled with glowing screens and shimmering holograms, a heavy, suffocating dread settled over everyone like a thick fog, because no one could escape the truth staring back at them from the cold void. The humans had returned. And they had returned with something the galaxy was not ready to understand. The Council demanded more scans, more data, more analysis, but every system refused to cooperate. Even the most advanced sensors trembled with error messages, as if the very concept of the Titan-class ship was too large, too ancient, too forbidden for their computers to process. Meanwhile, out in the Orion Rift, the alien officers trapped in their dead ships watched the Titan glide through space with slow, terrifying grace, its smooth black metal hull glowing in soft pulses that felt like a heartbeat older than any empire, older than the Council itself. Some officers whispered prayers, others silently wept, and some just stared blankly, unable to accept that their weapons, fleets, and technology meant absolutely nothing compared to whatever humans had forged centuries ago. A young alien pilot clutched his chest, whispering, "Why would a peaceful race build something like this?" While his commander answered with a hollow voice, "To survive something worse, something we cannot imagine." Back in the Council Hall, a trembling elder archivist stood up, requesting access to a vault no one had opened in hundreds of years. A vault containing restricted Terran information recorded shortly before humanity vanished. With shaking claws, he inserted the ancient key, and the vault unlocked with a loud click that echoed across the silent chamber. The Council waited in breathless fear as the hologram inside flickered to life. A human admiral, battle-worn, eyes dark with exhaustion, stood before them in a recording older than any living species. His voice was steady, calm, but carried a weight so heavy that everyone present felt their blood run cold. "If you find this message," the Admiral said, "then the Titans are awake. And if the Titans awake, it means the enemy we fought is not truly gone." The chamber erupted in gasps, claws tightening, eyes widening with terror. The admiral continued, "These ships are not designed for war against ordinary fleets. They are designed for extinction-level threats, forces that devour stars, entities that erase civilizations in minutes. The Titans are shields, not swords." When the message ended, silence shattered the room. The realization hit everyone at once. Humans hadn't built the Titans to conquer the galaxy. They built them to protect it. But protect it from what? No one dared to ask. Out in the rift, the frozen fleets regained partial power, their screens flickering, lights stuttering weakly, just enough for them to see the Titan turning its massive hull toward them once more. The alien crews braced themselves for annihilation, whispering goodbyes, closing their eyes, but the Titan did not fire. Instead, a soft, deep hum filled the void, and the ship projected a single circular wave of white light, gentle, warm, and unexpectedly peaceful. The frozen ships powered back on. Systems rebooted. Engines hummed. Life support restored. The Titan had revived them. A gift. A warning. A reminder. Inside the council chamber, screams of confusion and fear erupted as the new data came in. No weapon signature, no hostile action, no damage inflicted. The Titan had simply restored power to the entire fleet. One counselor collapsed into his chair, whispering, "They did not kill us, even though they could." Another, voice barely a whisper, said, "They are showing mercy." But the oldest among them, the one who remembered ancient human records, spoke with trembling certainty, "No, humans do not show mercy like this. They show control. They are telling us, they decide who lives." The room fell silent again as the Titan-class warship stopped moving. Its glowing observation strip brightened, and then, like a voice coming from the bones of the universe itself, a transmission echoed across every ship and every screen. Calm, deep, human. This is Titan Command. Stand down. Leave the rift. Do not return. That was it. No threats. No attack. Just an order. The entire galaxy trembled. Because a species feared by no one had just ordered the galaxy to obey. And the galaxy would. Inside the Grand Council Hall, chaos exploded the moment the human transmission ended, with leaders shouting, voices cracking, claws slamming against tables, wings trembling, tentacles shaking, every alien body reacting in pure instinctive panic because they all understood the same horrifying truth. No species in the galaxy had ever dared to give the Council an order. And yet humanity's Titan-class warship had spoken with calm certainty, not demanding but simply declaring. What would happen next? And the frightening part was that everyone knew they had no power to refuse. The chamber that once echoed with arrogance and pride now felt like a tomb where every council member was trapped with the weight of their own fear. One councillor screamed, "We must retaliate," but his voice broke mid-sentence, and he sat down weakly when he remembered how easily the Titan disabled an entire fleet without firing a single shot. Another shouted, "We must negotiate," only for a trembling scientist to reply, "Negotiate with what?" They did not even ask for anything. More panic erupted. What if humans are preparing for war? What if they want control of the rift? What if they want control of us? But the oldest counselor, the archivist who had seen the human admiral's message, stood trembling, raising his shaking hand to silence the room, his voice low yet heavy with a fear older than any empire. "You are all thinking like politicians," he whispered. "But humans think like survivors." The chamber grew quiet. The archivist continued, "If the Titans woke up, they are not preparing for war against us. They are preparing for war against something else." Those words fell into their hearts like cold iron. The chamber darkened as new data loaded across the massive screen, energy patterns taken from the Titan-class warship, readings so unnatural that even the most advanced galactic computers struggled to process them. The energy was not like plasma, not like antimatter, not like stellar cores. It was deeper, older, something that felt alive. The council scientists argued desperately, trying to understand the readings, until one terrified researcher screamed, "We cannot identify their power source." The room froze. Without knowing how the Titan was powered, the Council could not calculate its limits. The ship could be a relic with little energy left, or it could be storing enough power to destroy star systems. And the worst part, there was no way to know. Suddenly another alert flashed red across the hall. The Titan is sending a second signal. The Council held their breath as the massive hologram lit up again, showing the Titan-class human warship turning slowly in the void, its hull glowing with soft white light like the beginning of a sunrise. The Second Fleet's admiral appeared on screen, drenched in sweat, voice trembling violently. "Council, it is scanning us." Screams filled the great hall. "Why? What does it want? Is it preparing to fire?" But the admiral shook his head, tears filling his eyes. "No, it is not scanning weapons. It is scanning our fears." The Council didn't understand. The admiral continued, shaking harder. "Every time a ship tries to flee, the Titan grows brighter, as if it feels our panic." Suddenly a deep hum filled the fleet's audio feed, and the Titan's massive hull pulsed with radiant white veins, lighting up the darkness of space like a star being born. Then, the Titan opened its front hangar. No weapons emerged. No drones. No soldiers. Just a blinding white light that flowed gently like a curtain of fog drifting across the void. The alien crews stared at it with confusion and terror until one officer whispered, "It is not attacking us. It is looking inside us." The light drifted across the ships, touching hulls gently, passing through metal as if it were air, scanning each crew member's emotions, memories, intentions. The officers gasped as they felt something cold and ancient brush against their minds. A presence so vast and powerful that even touching it brought tears to their eyes. It wasn't human consciousness. It was something older. Something the humans had built into the Titans. Something designed to measure threats and decide survival. Back in the council hall, readings exploded on screen. Waves of psychic pressure, emotional mapping frequencies, neuroscan pulses, things no empire possessed. This is impossible," a scientist cried, collapsing. "Humans built a ship that can feel us." Another voice whispered, "They built a ship that judges us." Panic flooded the chamber again until suddenly the fleet's admiral screamed over the comms. "The light has stopped. The Titan is responding." The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The white light vanished. The Titan sealed its hangar. Its observation strip dimmed slightly, like an eye narrowing in thought. Then a single human voice echoed through every speaker in the galaxy. Cold, calm, emotionless, heavy enough to make every living being shiver. "Fear is not a weapon. Fear is a truth. Leave this place, Council. Your terror is justified." And with those chilling words, the Titan-class human warship powered up its engines in a slow, terrifying glow that made the stars themselves flicker. The Council stared in disbelief, their hearts filled with a fear they had never known. Because the Titan wasn't threatening war. It wasn't declaring conquest, that IT was warning them of something coming. Something humanity had faced long ago. Something so dangerous, even the Titans feared it. As the Titan-class human warship began powering its engines, the light beneath its colossal hull intensified into a soft white glow that washed across the frozen alien fleet, making their ships look like fragile toys drifting before a god, and deep inside every commander's chest, a silent truth hammered with unbearable force. They were alive only because the Titan allowed it. The alien crews stared at the glowing giant in the darkness, unable to speak, unable to breathe, unable to understand how a species once mocked as primitive could possess something so old, so powerful, so far beyond reason. The engines didn't roar like other warships. They hummed like a heartbeat, calm and steady, the hum vibrating through the void and even through the bodies of the terrified crews, reminding them that they stood in the presence of a machine built not for intimidation, but for judgment. Suddenly, the Titan shifted slightly, its massive body rotating with impossible smoothness for something of its size, and the motion alone sent shockwaves through the fleet, rattling hulls and shaking the alien hearts trapped inside. The observation strip brightened again, and every alien who looked at it felt as if a giant, ancient eye was staring into their souls, peeling away their lies, their arrogance, their excuses, their fake confidence, leaving only fear and truth behind. Then a whisper-filled murmur spread across the alien fleet as a new phenomenon appeared around the Titan. thin white rings forming slowly around the ship, expanding outward like ripples in water, but silent, graceful, almost peaceful. The council scientists watching from the chamber gasped in disbelief. "That is not a weapon," one whispered shakily. "It is a stabilizer field." Another collapsed into his chair. "No, stabilizers don't look like that. This is something different, something alive." The rings drifted outward gently, passing through the alien ships like soft wind, causing every living being they touched to feel a weight lift from their minds. Fear melted, anger faded, panic softened, replaced with a strange, overwhelming emotion none of them expected: sorrow. Sorrow so deep it felt like an ocean pulling them under. The alien admirals felt tears welling in their eyes, not from pain, not from fear, but from the crushing sadness that radiated from the Titan as if it carried the burden of 1,000 dead worlds on its hull. A grief held for centuries, silent and heavy and endless. One admiral whispered through trembling lips, "This ship, it's not angry. It's grieving." And the moment he spoke those words, the entire council chamber fell silent, because they all felt it too. The Titan didn't hate them. It pitied them. The white rings faded, and the Titan dimmed slightly, as if exhausted by its own memories. The fleet was quiet, almost reverent, watching the ship with a new understanding. For the first time, they realized the truth. The Titan wasn't built as a weapon, it was built as a promise. A promise humanity made to themselves. A promise to never face the same horror again. The alien officers whispered in horror, what did they fight that made them build something like this? No one could answer. The council leader trembled as he stared at the data coming in. Numbers that broke logic, readings no species had ever seen. It has multilayered consciousness fields, overlapping dimensional armor, temporal shielding. This is not technology. This is madness. Another counselor whispered, "No, this is survival." The Titan slowly lowered the intensity of its lights, then turned its front toward the center of the rift, toward the deepest, darkest part of the void, where no signal could return, where no ship had ever gone willingly. Suddenly, the Titan extended long, glowing structures from its hull. Structures shaped like ancient wings, massive and radiant, made to shield not itself, but whatever stood behind it. A defensive posture. A guardian stance. The alien fleets watched in paralyzed awe as the Titan positioned itself like a wall between the galaxy and something hidden in the rift. Something humanity knew. Something humanity feared. Something humanity was waiting for. A soft tremor rolled through space. A deep pulse echoed from the darkness beyond the Titan. Something answered. The Titan's lights flared in response, burning like a silent star preparing for war. Panic exploded inside every alien ship. What is that? What is coming? Why is the Titan defending US? But the Titan's voice echoed again. Calm, deep, final, leave the rift. This battle is not yours that it never was. Silence swallowed the galaxy. Tears filled the eyes of admirals and soldiers who suddenly realized they were standing on the edge of something far more terrifying than the Titan-class ship. They were standing on the edge of humanity's unknown enemy. And the Titan was preparing to face it alone. As the Titan-class human warship stood alone before the expanding darkness of the Orion Rift, the alien fleet, still trembling from fear and awe, realized they were witnessing something no species had seen in thousands of years. A human war machine preparing to face an enemy powerful enough to terrify even the creators of the Titans. The void ahead began to ripple like a disturbed ocean, waves of shadow rolling outward, bending starlight, twisting the very fabric of space, and as each ripple spread, alarms inside the alien ships screamed warnings the crews could not even understand. Their systems detected gravitational anomalies, temporal distortions, and energy signatures older than recorded time. The officers stared at their screens in disbelief as one impossible reading appeared after another. Frequencies that had no known source, echoes from creatures that shouldn't exist, and power levels that exceeded supernova events. Behind them, the Titan glowed brighter, its wings extending fully, runes along its hull igniting layer by layer like ancient scars waking from deep sleep, and the warm white light that once felt gentle now shifted into something colder, sharper, heavier, as if the ship itself were gathering courage for a war that no one else could fight. Inside the council chamber, Leaders screamed for explanations, but their scientists collapsed in panic, shouting, "The rift is not natural. It is opening." Another scientist sobbed as he read the data. "Something on the other side is pushing through, something huge, something alive." The council fell silent as the rift pulsed with a deep, bone-rattling vibration that made the chamber's walls shake, even though they were millions of light-years away. Every screen flickered, every holo-display glitched, and every alien heart felt the same cold truth. Whatever was coming was not meant for them. It was meant for humanity. And humanity had come prepared. The Titan's deep hum grew louder, vibrating through every ship in the fleet like a heartbeat echoing through the galaxy, and the alien crews suddenly felt something strange wash over them. Not fear, not dread, but sorrow, deep enough to break even the strongest soldier. It wasn't their sorrow. It was the Titan's. The ship was grieving. Grieving for the war it had fought before. Grieving for the heroes it had lost. Grieving for the worlds that had fallen long before the Council was born. The alien admirals, frozen in shock, realized the unbearable truth. The Titan wasn't preparing for battle out of anger. It was preparing out of duty. A duty older than empires. Older than the Council. Older than every species watching. Suddenly, the rift shook violently, splitting wider, and a massive silhouette began to emerge. Darker than shadow, larger than the Titan. A shape so monstrous that the stars behind it seemed to vanish. Screams erupted across the alien fleet. What is that? Is it a creature? Is it a ship? But the Titan remained calm. Its lights dimmed, its body lowered slightly, its wings wrapped outward, defensive posture. Guardian posture. Protector posture. The alien officers who had mocked humans their entire lives now watched with overflowing tears as the Titan stepped forward alone, moving between the emerging nightmare and the entire galaxy, preparing to shield everyone who had once laughed at the name human. A trembling alien captain whispered, "They are standing between us and that? They will die." His commander shook his head with shaking breath. "No, humanity never dies easily. They endure." The rift pulsed again, shaking space so violently that even the alien ships were thrown back. The Titan countered the shockwave instantly, generating an energy barrier large enough to cover thousands of kilometers, shielding the fleet with a shimmering white dome. The aliens gasped. No shield in the galaxy had that coverage. It wasn't a defensive wall. It was a promise. A promise humanity made long ago. We protect. Even if it kills us. Tears spilled from eyes across the fleet as the Titan's voice echoed again. Deeper now, cracked with old pain and heavy memory. All fleets, withdraw. This enemy is ours. The Council stared at their screens, trembling in disbelief. The oldest counselor, voice shaking, whispered what no one dared to say aloud. Humans. They are not protecting the rift from us. They are protecting us from the rift. The alien fleets began pulling back slowly, engines trembling, hearts pounding, unable to look away from the Titan, from the silent, ancient, unstoppable guardian standing alone before the coming storm. And as the dark silhouette in the rift expanded further, so large that even light struggled to escape its shape, the alien commanders realized something that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity had disappeared for centuries not because they were hiding, but because they were fighting. Fighting something the galaxy could never face. Something now waking again, and the Titan was the last line between existence and extinction. The alien fleets kept retreating, pulling farther and farther away from the Orion Rift, but not a single captain could take their eyes off the Titan-class human warship standing alone against the rising darkness, its massive form glowing brighter with each pulse of the rift, as if it were drawing power not from its engines, but from old memories, old battles, old promises that humans carved into their souls long before the Council ever learned to walk. And as the aliens watched, they felt something even more terrifying than fear, respect so overwhelming it left their bodies trembling. The rift tore open wider, screaming with a sound that wasn't a sound at all but a feeling, a pressure inside the mind, a claw dragging across the soul, and the first piece of the creature pushing through became visible. A single limb the size of a moon, covered in writhing black matter that bent light like liquid shadow, and when the alien fleet saw it, half of them collapsed in terror, because that limb alone was larger than their strongest dreadnoughts. The creature released a pulse that shattered several small asteroids into dust, But before the shockwave could reach the fleet, the Titan raised its shimmering white barrier again, absorbing the blow as if it were nothing more than rainfall. The aliens watched in awe as the Titan's wings extended fully, each wing stretching kilometers long, engraved with ancient Terran runes glowing like fire under ice, and for the first time, the galaxy realized the Titans were not ships. They were relics of war, built not just with metal and science, but with purpose, hope, fear, and sacrifice woven into every plate of armor. The council hall was completely silent, every leader frozen in place, their hearts shaking as the creature pushed further into their reality, revealing a second limb, then a head, a grotesque, void-like face with no eyes, only a gaping maw that swallowed starlight itself. A scientist screamed as readings flooded the chamber. It's older than the galaxy. It should not exist. Another collapsed, whispering, what kind of enemy did the humans fight alone? The alien fleets could only watch helplessly as the creature roared, the sound cracking distant moons, bending the magnetic fields of stars, and ripping small pockets of reality like thin fabric. Yet the Titan did not move. It didn't retreat. It didn't show fear. It simply hovered between the galaxy and the monster, glowing brighter with each pulse of darkness, its ancient systems pushing far beyond their limits, runes now burning with white-blue fire as though the ship were resurrecting memories buried in its engines. Memories of a war so brutal the universe itself tried to forget. Suddenly, a deep vibration passed through the Titan, and then the ship released something the galaxy had never seen before, its voice. Not a transmission. Not a radio signal. But a voice that shook the void like a god waking from a nightmare. A voice filled with sorrow, rage, sacrifice, and a loneliness so deep the alien fleets felt tears streaming down their own faces. We stand. Those two words carried the weight of 1,000 battles. The rift creature responded with a scream of pure cosmic hatred, and without warning, it fired a beam of black energy straight at the Titan, a beam capable of turning planets into dust. The alien fleet screamed in horror, believing this would be the end of the human warship, but the Titan moved faster than anything that size should move, shifting its wings, channeling its entire shield system into a single point, blocking the attack directly. The beam struck. Reality cracked. Light reversed. Space twisted. The Titan's shields shattered instantly, runes across its hull dimming as the impact bent the metal inward, tearing layers of armor from its body, exposing glowing internal structures made of impossible alloys that pulsed like living organs. But even as pieces of the Titan burned away into white-hot fragments, the ship did not fall. It pushed against the beam, engines screaming, hull glowing like a dying star refusing to collapse. And then, the Titan spoke again. We hold. Those two words rippled across the alien fleets, and every species watching felt their hearts break, because they now understood the truth. The Titan was not fighting to win. It was fighting to delay. Fighting to buy time. Fighting to make sure the monster did not reach the rest of the galaxy. Fighting to fulfill a promise humanity made long ago. If darkness returns, we stand alone. The creature roared again, doubling the strength of its attack, and the Titan's armor cracked further, giant metal plates breaking apart, its left wing torn off and spinning into the void like a dying comet. Sparks erupted from its core, white flames bursting from fractures along the hull, painting the darkness with the light of a warrior burning itself alive to protect those who once mocked it. The alien admirals cried openly now, unable to hold back the grief and shame filling their hearts, seeing the truth that humanity never spoke, never bragged about, never shared. Humans were never weak, humans were never simple, humans never disappeared because they ran. They disappeared because they were fighting this. Fighting alone. A final blast tore another chunk from the Titan, and the ship's voice echoed again, quieter now, heavy, fading. For Earth, for all of you, we endure. Every alien ship trembled. Every leader collapsed. Every being in the galaxy felt the same thing, humility, grief, fear, respect. Because the Titan was dying, and it was still holding the line. The Titan-class human warship hung broken in the darkness, its once mighty wings torn, its armor cracked and burning like the last embers of a dying star. Yet even as its systems failed one by one and white-hot pieces drifted away into the void, the ship refused to fall, refused to yield, refused to surrender to the ancient horror forcing its way through the rift. The creature's colossal form pushed further into real space, eyes of pure void opening across its shadowed body, each one staring hungrily at the galaxy beyond, and with every inch it emerged, space trembled like frightened flesh beneath a blade. The alien fleets watched from afar, powerless, crying, shaking, unable to bear the sight of the Titan burning alone. Its once silent heart now raging with the fire of 10,000 suns as it strained against the creature's endless assault. Inside every alien mind, the same question screamed. Why? Why are the humans doing this for us? And though there was no human aboard, no crew commanding the vessel, the Titan's ancient AI, the last echo of humanity's forgotten war, answered with every pulse of its fading lights. Because someone must stand, even when no one else can. The rift creature roared again, unleashing another blast of black energy that tore a massive hole through the Titan's side, exposing glowing machinery that looked less like technology and more like the organs of some ancient mechanical beast forged from sorrow and defiance. The Titan lurched, sparks erupting from deep within its core, but still, it pushed forward, activating its last remaining shield nodes, forming a thin shimmering barrier that flickered violently but held its position between the monster and the galaxy. The alien admirals screamed for a miracle, for humanity to appear, for something, anything, to save the Titan, but only silence answered them. A silence filled with the ghosts of human warriors long dead, warriors who built the Titans knowing they would one day face this same darkness again. The creature's massive claws tore through space, reaching for the Titan, dragging chunks of reality with them, and the Titan responded by unleashing a final surge of white energy. A blast so bright it illuminated the entire rift like a miniature sunrise, throwing the creature backward, delaying its advance for a few precious seconds. The Titan's voice echoed again across the void, weaker than before, each word trembling like the dying breath of a giant. Hold the line. The alien fleets sobbed as they watched the Titan drift, pieces breaking away, the light across its hull dimming like a candle in the wind. The Council, once proud and arrogant, collapsed on their knees, tears falling as they realized the unbearable truth. Humanity never feared the galaxy. Humanity feared what lay beyond it, and they had been guarding the galaxy silently for centuries, fighting a war no one else even knew existed. Suddenly the creature struck again, this time with a spear of dark energy that pierced the Titan straight through its core, and for a moment, the warship went still, lights fading to near black, its engines silent, its wings drifting apart into the void. The alien fleet screamed in horror, believing this was the end, believing the last guardian of humanity had finally fallen. But then, something stirred deep within the Titan's broken heart, a spark flickered, then another, then dozens. The runes carved into its hull ignited again, brighter than ever before, blazing white-blue light that poured from every fracture like the soul of humanity rising for one final push. The Titan straightened itself, its remaining engines roaring back to life with a sound like the universe itself was crying out, and the warship unleashed a final, desperate surge of power, a blast of pure Terran energy, burning with memories of Earth, of oceans and forests, of laughter and love, of loss and sacrifice, of everything humanity ever was. The blast hit the creature directly. The rift screamed, space twisted, stars flickered. The creature recoiled in agony, its body cracking, its limbs curling inward, its roar shaking galaxies as it was forced back into the rift, inch by inch, claw by claw, its monstrous face collapsing into itself as the Titan poured every last drop of its soul into the strike. The alien fleets watched, breathless, sobbing, whispering prayers they never believed in, as the Titan completed its final mission. It sealed the rift with a final thunderous flash. The opening snapped shut, trapping the creature beyond the veil once more, the darkness collapsing into a thin line, then into nothing. Silence fell, complete, absolute silence. Then, slowly, gently, the Titan drifted backward, its lights dimming, its systems fading, its wings falling apart like feathers from a dying angel. A soft voice, barely there, barely alive, echoed through the galaxy one last time. For Earth, for the stars, for all of you, remember us. The Titan's core flickered once, twice, then went dark. The enormous warship, humanity's last guardian, humanity's final promise, fell quiet, floating peacefully in the void like a fallen monument from an age of heroes long gone. And in the alien fleets, billions cried for humanity, for the Titan, for the truth. Because they finally understood. Humanity didn't just save them. Humanity had been saving them for centuries. Silently, alone, without ever asking for thanks. The council bowed their heads in shame, whispering the only words they could, "Forgive us." And somewhere in the cold darkness of the rift, as the Titan's broken hull drifted gently among the stars, a faint spark glowed deep inside. Small, quiet, but alive, a sign that humanity was not finished yet.